This month marks the 45th anniversary of Wheel of Fortune. Ever since its debut on January 6, 1975 on NBC, the wheel has kept on spinning despite numerous changes in hosts, letter turner / activator, announcer, producer, network, categories that you need for the puzzle, or things that are on the wheel. Even with all those changes, it's still America's game and still one of the highest rated shows in syndication. And we here at Game Show Gumbo think that there are some things about the wheel that a lot of you might want to know about. So if you want that little bit of extra knowledge about America's game that you want to impress people at your next party or on the web with, well, this video is for you. I'm Cindy Saddleman, and it's time for a Game Show Gumbo Top 5. Top 5 interesting facts about Wheel of Fortune's history. Number 1. Jeopardy died so Wheel of Fortune could live. Before Merv Griffin created Wheel of Fortune, he created Jeopardy, which debuted for NBC in 1963. It was a really successful show for the network despite its older demographics. And that is the key word that is the problem for then head of NBC Daytime, Lynn Boland: older demographics. She wanted the network to skew younger, sexier, and she thought Wheel of Fortune could help because Jeopardy's ratings were kind of old. The problem with that, though, is Jeopardy had a contract going into 1976, so she couldn't cancel Jeopardy. So she postulated this to Merv Griffin after she loved the Wheel of Fortune pilot. We'll put Wheel of Fortune on the air, but Jeopardy has to be let out of its contract 1 year early. Both Merv and Lynn Boland took the gamble that Wheel of Fortune would be a big hit, and it turns out it was. Wheel of Fortune became a massive success to this day, all thanks to a gamble by Merv and Lynn Boland. Number 2. Wheel was almost canceled in 1980. Twice. Fred Silverman was the man in charge in 1980 after he replaced Lynn Boland in 1978. And he wanted to build NBC Daytime around a budding superstar of comedy, David Letterman. His first goal was to create a 90-minute daytime show featuring Letterman, and what he was going to do, he was going to cancel 3 game shows: High Rollers, Hollywood Squares, and Wheel of Fortune. At a last-minute suggestion from a staffer, Chain Reaction was to be axed along with Hollywood Squares and High Rollers, so Wheel was saved. When Letterman's show bombed, he thought moving the show to an later time slot would help out. So he was going to move everything up, and the show that was going to be in its wrecking path was Wheel of Fortune, and Wheel of Fortune was set to be canceled in August of 1980 because of Letterman. But at a last-minute suggestion once again, Letterman's show was shortened from 90 minutes to 60 minutes. So Wheel of Fortune was saved yet again. I got a feel for the staff. Being told you're going to be canceled twice in the span of 2 to 3 months, and then being told, hey, we're not canceling it, we had a late change of mind. Whew. I think that really sets up the fight when it comes to number 3. Number 3, the fight for Pat Sajak to host. After Chuck Woolery was fired or resigned from Wheel of Fortune, well, depending on who you ask, of course, the search for a new host was on. But the search didn't last long, as Merv Griffin immediately had a successor ready to go in Pat Sajak after seeing him doing the weather on KNBC. He met up with stiff competition on one person: Fred Silverman. Fred Silverman thought that Pat Sajak was too local and wouldn't draw for a national audience. Well, Merv then said the following: Pat Sajak is going to be my host, otherwise I am stopping production of Wheel of Fortune. Thankfully for everyone involved, Silverman relented, and Pat Sajak was allowed to be the host of Wheel of Fortune. And he's been hosting the show ever since, and he has no plan to stop until 2021 or until his recent contract runs out. I think it's like 2021 or 2022 or something along those lines. I mean, he has hosted the show for 40 plus years. Can you imagine that? 40 years hosting Wheel of Fortune. The true Iron Man of game shows. Number 4, the wheel itself was meant to be much different. The idea of a game show pilot is meant to be a proof of concept piece for producers and showrunners to be a proof of concept to networks and syndicators to show that a show is ready to go and ready to be sold, maybe with a few tweaks here and there in between pilot and actual airtime. Wheel is no different. In 1973, when Merv originally was thinking about Wheel of Fortune, it was called Shopper's Bazaar, and the pilot is really bizarre. We could do a whole video about the changes that was done from Shopper's Bazaar to Wheel of Fortune, but the one change we'll single out for this particular video is the wheel itself. Now, it was of good size, but it was more like a Carnival Barker / Las Vegas style wheel. And how it was changed was that Chuck Woolery had a little dingy bobber that you would push to start and then push to stop the wheel or slow down the wheel. Now, it was okay, but didn't really evoke much excitement. In 1974, when the pilot was reworked into Wheel of Fortune, veteran set designer Ed Fletcher decided to go to a bigger is better motif, which is the wheel that you currently see on the show. And Merv loved it and placed it into effect for Wheel of Fortune. Now, how do you get those overhead shots, you ask? Well, they had a single cameraman up 40 feet in the air to get those downward shots so you could actually see the wheel. I mean, that is one brave soul. Not to be up 40 feet in the air, but with a camera that weighs about the size of a car. That is the most heroic person in Wheel of Fortune history. Not Chuck, not Pat, not Vanna. That cameraman who had to get that shot. Number 5. It wasn't the first Wheel of Fortune on the air. Now, this is an interesting piece of TV trivia that you can use to impress all your friends. Now, even though the Wheel of Fortune that we all know and love debuted on January 6, 1975, the original Wheel of Fortune actually debuted in 1952, and itself was a game show hosted by Todd Russell. Now, the format for this Wheel of Fortune is that somebody would be nominated to be on the show. They would have a heroic story to tell, whether they saved a bunch of people or have done really good deeds in their community. After an interview, the contestant would actually spin the titular Wheel of Fortune and either get a prize, some cash, or land on a space that allows them to answer some trivia questions in the hope to win $1,000 in cash. Now, if the concept seems similar to some shows on the air, well, it's because it actually is. We see shows like this on the air currently, like The Wall, or more aptly, Spin the Wheel. Now, to make this a little more interesting, the show only lasted about a year in the States, but would last for 3 years in Australia. Host and producer Reg Grundy loved the idea and pitched it to Australia networks, and they loved it, and they aired it. Now, what makes it even more interesting? Wheel of Fortune was to come to Australia in 1981. The person who was the driving force for that version of Wheel of Fortune? Reg Grundy. So the wheel really came full circle when it came to Wheel of Fortune in Australia. God bless you, Reg Grundy. Well, that's going to do it for this special video on Wheel of Fortune here at Game Show Gumbo. I'm Sidney Seidelman. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And if you like what you see in this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Or if you want more videos like this, become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. I leave you with the Game Show Gumbo clip of the week. It is a classic clip from 1999 in Wheel of Fortune history where Pat Sajak channels his inner Leonidas from 300 when a contestant gives a really dumb answer. Enjoy. Until next time, bye-bye.
People, your time starts now.
A group of pill pushers?
Good night, everyone. Thank you. This is Wheel of Fortune, Joe.